Glad to have you back. You're watching TVC Breakfast Show, and it's time now for the newspaper review. I'm starting this morning with The Punch, and I'm not alone. I have my guest with me, Dotun Ojon here.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. So we're starting this morning with The Punch newspaper, and the headlines here read on the very top, smart devices for maintaining good health. And the major headline is BVN, the caption, banks move to stop deposit for feature, lobby the AGF. And we have two pictures here depicting riots in Kano State, where the police clashed with members of the Shiite sect. And the headline reads, 2 feared dead as police, Shiites clash in Kano. We also have FG suspends Obono Obla, and the anti-graft war one-sided, says the Christian Association of Nigeria president. Nigeria kidney patient stranded in India for 2 years, and 13-year-old pupil flees boyfriend in Lagos. Now, tell us, give us your opinion on the headlines there.
All right, I'm going to start with the BVN, okay, because
that's the biggest one.
Yes, it's the biggest one as on the newspaper. It's understandable why banks are doing that at this point in time, because if you look at the amount of money in banks now as we speak, banks depend majorly, especially in Nigeria, on illegal money. So that's why it's necessary. And if this BVN issue scales through, you discover that huge amount of money will be forfeited to the federal government, and this is exactly what banks at this point in time do not want and will not like. So they need to do everything possible to retain some of this illegal money. There's no corruption case in Nigeria that can happen without connivance with the bank or the bank supporting it. So it's I have expected this, because at the end of the day, if the federal government succeed in forfeiting some of this money, you discover that some of the banks will come below their 25 billion naira capitalization fund. So they are going to fight. It's going to be a dirty and a very serious fight. Indeed. To ensure that
well,
this does not happen.
Still talking money now, we move quickly to the Nation newspaper, and the major headline here is Paris Club refund, 3 more governors indicted. What's your reaction? My
reaction to that is very simple. We are very religious people in this country, but we are not godly. And that's why at every point in time you see people who work in the civil service, they don't get paid. Whereas the governors get their security vote, and we're talking about hundreds of millions of naira. They pay their aides and they get their own salary, but they don't get to pay workers. And these are not just funds that are coming directly from the federal government. These are funds that are made specifically for specific duty, and that's about the last one they gave out. 70% was supposed to go for salary and 30% for capital project. But the question is, how many governors actually abided by this directive by the federal government? So I think it's high time the federal government began to put machinery in place to ensure that once they release an amount of money, it goes for the purpose for which it is released. I understand that some state governors are coming out to say this money, after all, is our money. But if it is your money, and we have cases, sad cases of state government owning workers up to 9 to 12 months. You remember what happened in Kogi, a man committed suicide and all that. So I think we need the issue of governance in Nigeria. I think we pay too much attention to the federal government. There's a need for us to continue to look at what the state governors are doing.
Divulging powers. Yeah. Let's move quickly now to the Daily Sun, and the major headline here is "Give us cash. Reps demand money instead of official cars." What's your reaction to that?
I actually wanted to say gang, because at the end of the day, you know, when the issue of the car came on, a number of people were saying, oh, these cars are just too expensive. Now it's another way of making money, not only for themselves, because we have to be very careful. Sometimes if we talk about their salary, we talk about their allowances, we should also talk about the demands of the Nigerian people. I got to my friend who was a member of House of Representatives, and I was trying to make calculation of the 10,000 naira that he was doling out to people. I lost count. So these people are actually spending heavily also on their constituents, not project that will benefit them. But for some of us that will go there, oh, my children want to pay school fees, they dole out 10,000. At the end of the time, by the time they calculate some of this money, it has amounted to a huge amount of money. So there's a need for us to also check ourselves as a people. If we want good leadership, we should be able to lead a lifestyle that depicts that.
We should be good followers too. All right, another headline here reads, Niger Delta elders reach out to Avengers over attack threat. Recall that story.
Yeah, the federal government has been wonderful in dealing with the issue of unrest in the Niger Delta, and I sincerely want to commend the federal government. But there are some little directives of the federal government here and there that some powerful people are not actually abiding by. And one of them is that the headquarters of some of these oil companies should go back to the Niger Delta.
Well, the Avengers have said that the federal government hasn't lived up to its promises.
And that's what I'm saying. The federal government has actually given the directive, and it is also the duty of the federal government to ensure that everybody at least complies with what has been said. For the argument of some of these oil companies has been, oh, insecurity. And if you are talking about insecurity, that you cannot relocate your headquarters to the Niger Delta zone because of insecurity, then you can continue to explore from the Niger Delta. You are not talking about insecurity. So there's a need for the federal government to actually match words with action, and by telling them decisively that at this point in time, this is what I want. And the issue of what's the name of this university also, the takeoff, I was expecting that it would take off by September, this September that just passed. So these are some of the things that the federal government promised. The Maritime University. These are some of the things that the federal government promised. I don't know whether you've been there. Fantastic building, the structure are in place, the equipment are there, and you continue to wonder. Yes, you continue to wonder that what's disturbing the federal government from actually kickstarting this. So these are some of the things that needs to be done for us to be able to consolidate on the entire peace process that we have begun in the Niger Delta.
All right, another headline reads, Buhari, Sultan, Shekau on global most powerful Muslim list. What's your reaction?
It's two of them are actually Muslim, and two of them are actually politicians.
Okay.
How many of them?
Buhari, Sultan of Sokoto, and Shekau.
So maybe we are having equal representation. One is from politics, the other one is from the traditional institution, and perhaps the third one is from the extremist angle. It tells you that Nigeria, we are extremely very religious people, but whether we are godly is a question for another time.
All right, we move now quickly to the Vanguard, and the top story here reads, hands off and shut up. Presidency tells Obla. And riders underneath there read, I remain chairman of presidential panel. That's by Obla. And another one reads, Malami Dambazao face Senate committee this week. Your reaction?
Yes, if there's going to be any evil, quote unquote, that's going to be before the APC government, it's going to be an evil within, not without. The problem of APC as we speak is not even the problem of opposition. It's not the problem of those people that are not part of the party. The problem has always been people that are part of the party, and many of them are also in power. So there's a need for us, especially when you talk about the AGF. I think the man is becoming too controversial to the point that he is attracting more enemies for this government than friends. So there's a need for them to put their house in order. And I tell you that nobody, as we speak now, even in PDP, nobody may be able, and I'm being careful about that, nobody may be able to defeat APC without the support of APC. In other words, it is within APC that PDP or whatsoever party will get support to defeat APC. So
without a crisis within, the enemy cannot...
yeah, you understand, of course, and we have glaringly, there are crises here and there.
All right, on the right-hand corner now, there's a little headline here, which is important. I'm reading that because it talks on education. Tension grips varsities as ASU reviews agreement with the federal government. Are you scared?
You know, we are people driven by impulse. Once there's the need for us to do something instantly, we go for it. We do not consider the implications. And in the School of Leadership, we talk about active and non-active leadership. And under active leadership, we have the reactive kind of leadership, and that's what we have seen over the time. We are a set of reactive people. Once there's an issue, we don't get to consider everything, and that's what led to the agreement in the first place, because the government in power then wanted us to just call off the strike, and perhaps they did not even read the entire clauses in the paper.
And this is a vicious cycle.
You understand?
It happens all the time.
It happens all the time. The last time they said, oh, we are going to meet all your demand, just go to bed. And I'm wondering, when they said, oh, we are going to meet all the demand, I was wondering, has these people actually gone through some of these elements in this agreement? Some of them, in reality, when we were in prosperity, we could meet the demand. But now the nation is not in prosperity.
You're saying they are unattainable.
Many of them, as we speak now. So it's not a demand of deadline. What we had now was a demand of deadline. Oh, within, I think by October or so, or September, we are going to meet this thing. No, I was expecting to, let ASU understand what the situation was at that point in time, and perhaps give them date. As the nation knows prosperity, we are going to meet some of these demands.
Just maybe ASU may not have been willing to agree if they hadn't told them such arrangements. Let's take very quickly now the last headline here on the Vanguard newspaper. Nigeria not an oil economy, says Adeosun. That's the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun. What's your reaction?
Yes, it's looking, a number of us are skeptical when we hear that we are not oil economy. Because in reality, the other sectors...
Then actually, what are we?
The other sectors actually are supposed to support the economy more than oil sector. But the way it is now, I think about 70, I want to be careful with figure, it's actually generated, our major earner is from the oil industry. Unfortunately, we are talking about the lifespan of oil over the world now, because in the next 10 years, the relevance of oil is going to drop. Unfortunately, we are people that we are also looking for oil, even in the far north. I was hearing this morning that close to about $3 billion was earmarked to search for oil in the northern part of the country. And I was asking myself, the longest bridge in China, for example, was built for $2 billion. So you begin to ask, are we a people of the 21st century or a people of 19th century? Because it's only a people of 19th century that we place premium
19th century is even close.
Yes, on oil.
Like the 10th century.
As we speak now, we need to continue to be innovative with our agricultural sector. In 1900, 50% of Americans are actually producing food for the entire Americans. In the year 2006, only 3% of Americans were producing food for the entire America. So what are we doing as a people? Are we just going to be making noise about agriculture without putting in investment into agriculture? So I think our attention should just move away from this oil noise, because the lifespan, if oil is to live 100 years, in my calculation, I think we have led about 80 years. So we are just left with about 20 years or thereabouts. So the concentration of government should be on other sectors. Right. And agriculture is it. Because even by the year 2030, we are going to be what about, is it 10 trillion naira in agriculture? That's, I'm talking about Africa. So it's a huge market that all of us need to plug in.
My guest this morning, Dotun Ojon, thank you for being here on the Newspaper Review.
Pleasure.
Well, that's it on the Newspaper Review. I'm Fadisha Lashotingwa.